Hello everybody and welcome to our episode number 59 of Around the World in 80 Tangos. Today from a really blue sky in Berlin, and this sky reminds us to a beautiful summer we had, and our piece today is called Remembranza.
Remembrance.
And the recording today is of Alfredo Gobbi from 1948. This is, by the way, one of Raimund's favorite orchestra.
The singer is Jorge Maciel, and this might be the flagship song of Jorge Maciel because he performed it first with Alfredo Gobbi, then later with Osvaldo Pugliese and with Sexteto Tango.
Our journey today is through the life of Alfredo Gobbi. And as we said in our episode number 57, that two guys went to Europe in 1913 and brought the tango to Europe, I'm sorry, that was not true.
For this we have to start with the parents of Alfredo Gobbi. Alfredo Gobbi was born 1912 in Paris, where his parents stayed, Los Gobbi, Alfredo Eusebio Gobbi, and his mother, Flora Hortensia Rodriguez.
What a beautiful name for them.
Yes, Flora is not enough, it has to be a Hortensia.
So the parents of little Alfredo had a contract with Victor in 1905. So they traveled to the US and they did recordings in New York, and then they had a tour. I mean, they went to Europe, and in 1907 they were in Paris with Angel Villoldo.
Again for recordings, this time with the recording company Gath y Chavez, and they recorded not only tangos but also zarzuelas, couplets, songs from the countryside and other stuff, and also they performed as dancers, so they were really the tango pioneers in pre-war Europe.
In 1912, Alfredo Gobbi was born in Paris, and in the same year they left Europe and went back to Buenos Aires.
And at the age of 6, Alfredo Gobbi started to learn the violin, and his father dreamt of him as a classical violin player in a classical orchestra. But Alfredo Gobbi, of course, headed to tango, and secretly he sold oranges to buy tram tickets to travel to the Select Lavage to listen to Julio De Caro, which was his idol in this time.
And then with 18 years, in 1930, he played with Osvaldo Pugliese, Aníbal Troilo, Elvino Vadaro in a sextet, what called Vadaro Pugliese or Pugliese Vadaro, we don't know so exactly. And they played long time together.
Yeah, it was an on-off orchestra, they didn't record. This orchestra was ahead of its time. It was a selection of the finest young musicians of its time, and they were really ahead.
And then 5 years later, 1935, he was the first violin of the orchestra of Pedro Lawrence.
Yes, Pedro Lawrence just escaped from Julio De Caro. And some people say that Pedro Lawrence was a bit of an artist, not so very interested in his musical career, but only to make fine music. But he had a true dedication to showmanship. So his musicians went to the best tailor in Buenos Aires. They would always check if the socks, the color of the socks would fit to the necktie. So this was also part of the character of Pedro Lawrence.
7 years later, 1942, he built up his own orchestra. And in 1947, he started recordings with Victor.
Yes, he was still part of the golden period of tango, and when he stopped recording with his own orchestra in 1957, he continued with smaller gigs, and he ended up like in nightclubs playing the piano, which he also mastered. and he died in 1965 in Buenos Aires.
And Raimund, this is one of your favorite orchestra. Why?
He stands between Aníbal Troilo and Osvaldo Pugliese for me. So he has a very strong rhythm. He was called El Violín Romántico del Tango, the romantic violin of tango. And when you hear him play, he's not such a shining player like Enrique Francini. When this guy has a solo in the orchestra of Calò or in his own orchestra, it's really boff, curtain off. Gobbi is more modest, but he created a very fine, very unique sound, very fantastic music. I love a lot his instrumentals, La Viruta, Jueves, Pelele are among my favorites. And this recording of Remembranza, which is your favorite song,
Yes, it is.
everybody knows, combines everything. The romanticism, strong rhythm. It's a very long recording. It has nearly 4 minutes. And it's a great song for a romantic tanda.
So guys out of the world there, play more Gobbi.
And we will come to your milonga.
For sure. And then we have our first Mario Melfi. He wrote this piece.
He's the composer. He was born in Buenos Aires, and when he was 18, he had his first tour to Spain with then famous names like Horacio Petorossi, Bachicha, and he came to Europe as a drummer and a double bass player. And on the tour, he learned his final instrument, the bandoneon, with Bachicha. Then he stranded in Paris, Enclave in Paris, a very common fate. And he had his own orchestra and he traveled to all Europe. And the title was called La Nuit du Tango. And he performed everywhere, in cabarets, in dancings, played in radios, and composed all of his songs in Paris. And among them is the very famous Poema. But Remembranza is his greatest success. And the first recording he did himself in 1935. And it was entitled Ressouvenance. And it was sung in French, of course.
How long are the weeks when you're not close to me? I don't know what superhuman force gives me courage to be far away from you. The light of my hope has died. I'm like the shipwrecked in the sea. I know I get lost in the far horizon, but cannot resign myself. Oh, how sad it is to remember, after having loved so much, that happiness that went by, flower of an illusion. Our passion has withered. Oh, forget my scorn, return, my sweet, to our love, and it will bloom again, our wanting, like that flower. The lyrics is written by Mario Battistella.
He was born Italian, born 1893, close to Verona in Italy. And he came to Buenos Aires when he was 17 after studies in Vienna and Paris. And he met Carlos Gardel in 1922, and he also had his debut as a songwriter. And Gardel sang 10 of his poems.
And he was famous for his moral lyrics. So he didn't like Lunfardo and all this.
This gangster lyrics about brothels and triangles and duels. So he was more interested in true love. He was also a very political guy, so he was aware of the political turmoils, all the killings and strikes in Buenos Aires, the riots against the social injustice. He wrote the lyric of a song about the prison in Ushuaia, which was a very infamous prison, which was open until the 40s, a horrible prison. And then he wrote other songs like Cuartito Azul with Mariano Mores, or another protest song, Bronca, where we have a fantastic recording of Osvaldo Pugliese with Alfredo Belushi.
This song was written in 1934 and Carlos Gardel died in 1935. So we are sure that Gardel would have recorded Remembranza because the lyrics is really a Carlos Gardel lyrics, I would say.
Yes, I think so.
So in 1933, still Carlos Gardel was alive, he wrote the first book about Carlos Gardel.
The title was Carlos Gardel's Vida Artistica y Anecdotica, his artistic and anecdotal life. I hope I'm right. In total, Carlos Gardel recorded 10 tangos with lyrics from Mario Battistella.
And with this, we say goodbye of our episode number 59 from around the world in 80 tangos. And today we had this wonderful song, Remembranza, in a recording of Alfredo Gobbi from 1948.
The song was written by Mario Melfi, the lyrics Mario Battistella, and the singer in this setup of the orchestra of Alfredo Gobbi is Jorge Maciel.
Thank you for traveling with us through tangos we love, and we hope you enjoyed. This was
Daniela and Raimund, Tango Mundo, Berlin.
Stay healthy and take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Cómo son largas las semanas cuando no estás cerca de mí. No sé qué fuerza sobrehumana me dan valor lejos de ti. Muerta la luz de mi esperanza, soy como un náufrago en el mar. Sé que me pierdo en lontananza, mas no me puedo resignar.